Hello and welcome to another edition of the SilverFox. Today I have an extra special video for you guys. A brand new map in the map pool. Cerulean Fall, LE. This is the first time I've played this map. It was against a Zerg player. It was also the first time he played this map, and yeah, let's get into it. First impressions of this map. It feels a little bit like Dreamcatcher, in that it has a ramp to a ramp. You can see my opponent was also excited about a new map, so we must have been randomly chosen. It's pretty fun to try something new after you've been playing the same map pack for a couple of months. What else can I say about it? Seems like there are lots of platforms. There's lots of places to siege tanks. This might be a very good map for Terran once it gets figured out. That's my very first impressions. We'll see if that becomes the case. You'll see something happens later in the game that kind of makes me tend to think that this is a map built for siege tanks. It's a great map. My first impressions were very good. There's lots to like. There's definitely a lot of excitement when a new map comes out. People need to figure things out, nuances, and if Reapers have an advantage somewhere, hopping into someone's base or whatever. But yeah, nonetheless, it's exciting, and it adds an element of like questioning. Like, am I doing this correctly? Like, you start to question everything that you're building because you're like, wait, is this what I should be doing on this map? So what I decided to do was just go to the tried and true Marine Medevac tank, which is just, I don't know how you could beat that unless you go air. Obviously, there's some advantage there, but late game units can counter early game units, and so as an early game unit, this is such a good strategy. So I figured, new map, just go with what I know. See, my opponent is bringing out his Lings early, which is also smart because he gets to learn the terrain a little bit. So his scout comes at a good time. My Reaper's ready, so I send him across. My Reaper probably should have met these Lings, but they don't. So that's kind of an interesting little feature. See, I wasn't quite ready for this incoming Ling rush. Luckily, I was able to cancel my CC. But I had a sufficient wall up top after I dropped this bunker, and I had a Marine to kind of deter this first aggression, and another Marine out. So at this point, he's completely shut down. I have my Reaper on the other side. I was kind of busy over here microing, making sure that I wasn't going to get let those Lings into my mineral line. So right now I can tell he's dedicated to the Lings. He's got a bunch. He only sent 4 after me, which I think was pretty smart. I hit myself with a grenade. That was kind of foolish. I was trying to get those Lings off my back, but it is what it is. I mean, I saw that he has a spawning pool, but not really any big deal. I know that he has another hatch up too, so he's doing good stuff. Taking advantage of his natural. Looks like he goes for a pretty quick third. So I'm a little delayed right here. I like to have my third started or already mining by the 3-minute mark, and so his pressure really did throw me in the time frame that I was shooting for, because of the fact that I couldn't deal with those Lings. I didn't have my bunker up fast enough, and I didn't have my Marines out fast enough. So, but what is a nice thing about a new map is that the uncertainty that you're maybe experiencing is also an uncertainty that your opponent may be experiencing. So maybe he's not as inclined to go all in If he went all in right now with his lings, he would get chewed up by this bunker, but he would definitely prevent me from expanding. So I'm not quite sure why he didn't leave his lings down low. But that's okay. So now I have my other CCE ready. So a little late, but it's before 5 minutes, which is nice. Things basically start transitioning around 8 to 10 minute mark into the mid game. So if you don't have the economy to handle mid game units, you can get defeated quite quickly. If he came with Roach Ravager, I would be in a lot of trouble right now. But he stayed with Lings, so he's not teching up super fast. He does have some roaches though, so I know that within a couple of minutes on, I didn't know he had this third base, but with 3 bases in a couple of minutes, he can have a lot of roaches out, and I'll be in a world of hurt if I don't get some tanks out quickly. So that's exactly what I do. Started a couple starports, so I could start making. I should have had this guy repairing. That's all right. Set that a little late. And deflect the lings. Not the cleanest effect, but deflect nonetheless. I also have mules out now, so I can make up income pretty quickly. At this point, I probably should have dismantled this bunker because I'm blocking my tanks in, and they have to drive all the way around. So not the best setup for a mid game as we're approaching the mid game time. So if you figure a game of Starcraft lasts for around 22 minutes to 30 minutes in a really extended late game, you can kind of gauge an early game rush is going to come within the first 2 minutes. Mid game is going to start around 7, 8, 9 minutes, something like that, and then late game is probably after the 10 to 12 minute mark. Now that there's some variation on that, but roughly that's kind of the rule of thumb that I follow. So when I look at the clock and I see that I'm at 7 minutes, I know I better start having some more tanks out quickly, because I could have lots of roaches at the front of my base, and Ravengers. If I have my tanks in proper positions, they'll 3-shot my tanks and kill them. At this point, I think I have one. Oh, I'm researching +1 attack, but I'm not getting armor yet. I don't know why. I think I ran out of gas, or I was low on gas when I clicked it initially, and I forgot to come back to it. And see, I'm doing okay, not supply blocking myself too much. I think I do supply block myself a little bit later in the game, which is not that great. But at this point, I feel like I have a decent amount of. I have 3 tanks out, a bunker that's fully loaded, and medevacs. So this is pretty good to deflect most aggression that it needs to fight up a ramp, and it's a narrow ramp too. Like Darkness Sanctuary has a wide ramp that's a little more difficult to wall off. This one is a little bit nicer. I also have this high vision on all my tanks, so if I siege this guy up, I think I do here, I could definitely deflect anything that's going to be incoming. Oh, I guess that one doesn't get siege up there. I bring that guy down. So I guess this is technically supposed to be my 3rd expansion here. Again, I don't know this map very well. My opponent expands there. You can see he's got his spore collars up, so he's ready for my Banshees. If I were to bring him in, I decided not to do Banshee Harass this game, just because I didn't really know the map, and I kind of wanted to just stick with something that felt comfortable. I was a little late on getting more barracks up. I probably should have had more if I was going to make Marines. Now I have 5 tanks out. making some more, queuing up some more supply depots. And I think I'm transitioning into, yeah, 2-1, so I still haven't started +1 armor, so that was a mistake on my part. I should have been paying attention more to that. 47 workers right now, not great. Approaching the 10-minute mark, I would like to have 3 bases. Actually, at the 8-minute mark, I'd like to have 3 bases mining. I did build another CC over here, but that was only because I was just not sure where he had his army. If they were sitting over here waiting for me, and I floated my command center over, that probably would have been a bad, obviously would have been a bad call. And I didn't want to waste a scan because I wanted to save up my mules for my new command center. So now I'm transitioning into more barracks so that I can start cranking the army units. I didn't hit Stimpack. I should have hit Stimpack earlier. A little sloppy this game on the upgrades. Other things I think I did okay, but and so I'm setting up my first job just to kind of see what he has. I have no idea where his scouts are, and I didn't bring my Vikings. I should have brought my Vikings to do some Overlord harass. That would have been nice. So he's got Ling, Bing, Hydra, Roach, Ravager. So his army composition is quite good right now. +1 armor. But it's not good against tanks. So I kind of poke in here. I see that he's got a hatch. So I decide, you know what, I'm just going to drop on this hatch and see what I can do. Boost move for no reason. I was kind of dumb looking. And he just brings his army over and kind of cleans me up really quick. So I don't really do much with this drop. Little fake out, see where he goes, but he's got a bunch of Hydras over here, so he just takes my medevac out. But you know what, I got to see what he had. I could see that he's expanding quite quickly, so I know I gotta get going. I have lots of resources. I can start cranking my Marines pretty quickly here. And I've got plenty of reactors on my barracks. So again, this map is, it feels a little like Dreamcatcher to me, which I don't particularly love Dreamcatcher, but this map maybe has some more advantages for the Terran in it. Yeah, so anyway, I need to get another command center up because this is starting to get ridiculous. Like I'm starting to mine out pretty good here, and I'm doing okay on my second base, but I got to get another command center, or I have another command center, so I need to float it and start mining. Luckily, he didn't have anything sitting over here waiting for me. Now I got tanks sieged here and here, so I figure anything that comes in this general area is going to get hit pretty good. I didn't close the door. Should have closed the door. You can see those vials are landing on my tanks. But tanks are just tearing things up. And I just walk my Marines back over here for the final cleanup. So if you have tanks positioned on this ramp, and on your high ground, anybody that walks in this general area is going to have a bad time. Now it's time for a poor push. As you'll see, I kind of biffed this push. I have the advantage. His unit, he's way down in the units. He's got 15 Roaches, 6 Queens, 3 Hydralisks, and 30 Zerglings, which is, I guess, a decent army. It's not way down, I suppose, but that's poor micro on my poor Vikings here, just getting hit for no reason. I didn't siege up my tanks in time, so just kind of bad micro on my part. I walked into his base a little quickly. And you can see I just lose everything. Those Banelings just destroyed me. So I get on out of there with my my medevacs and start to rebuild. I mean, I always try to rebuild while I'm fighting so that I don't run into a situation where I have nothing at home to defend. Because if he decides to go for a counter after that, like you could see, he didn't really lose that many Zerglings because he could just remake them really quickly. Actually, he didn't lose much of anything on that fight. I lost everything. Mostly because I didn't have my tank sieged when I walked in there. It's pretty poor. What I should have done is pushed in here, scanned, taken out these creep trimmers, sieged my tanks, waited for him to come to me, wasted his army, and then marched into his base. That would have been a proper engagement for my side. See with these mules, it's just absolutely crazy how much income you can generate. It's so nice. It's the best part of being a Terran. Not having to worry about your stupid SCVs sitting around all the time. I know there's a hotkey to get all your idle SCVs, but you know, in the heat of the battle, you just forget. That's why I'm in Silver League. So getting +3 and I think +2 armor now, so my Marine should be pretty formidable. My opponent is he's got +2, +1, so he's you know, he's doing pretty good too. And with that, queue up a bunch more tanks. They'll continue building while I'm moving my army around and decide to go for another push. But I'm going to do it right this time. And this is the way that you should do a push. I think this one's pretty successful. So scan, come in, kill the creep tumors. That'll agitate your enemy. Move a little forward, or siege up in case he comes in. Scan. Kill the creep tumors. And you can see he's going to try to flank me, which is pretty smart. But when you got high ground vision from your air units coming over the top like that, I'm not sure if you meant to do that, but it wasn't a good idea. You can see I just got more and more army to back this up with too, so it's pretty easy to just come in after that and just, you know, hit it. The roaches just melt to those siege tanks. So that was it. That was a glimpse at the new map, Cerulean. LE. Very cool map. I enjoyed it. Like where this is going. If the new map pack is going to be sort of similar to what we've been seeing, and if we get more maps that are good for Terran, I'm happy with that. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.